Hey, welcome back to FX021 Shang-Chi shell tutorial. In this chapter, I'm going to talk about how to make these beautiful trails without simulation. So let's get started. So first thing first, we want to create our trails. So let's create a node geo and call it trails, smoke trails. And for smoke trails, we want to bring the particles we generate in the rinse animate folder here. So I create a node here called particle out. This is the point here, and we copy our geometry onto this point. So just let's copy this particle out node here and go here, create object merge and paste it here. So bring that in. Changes to hide other geometry here, and now you can see the particles are inside our smoke trail folder here. And what we're gonna do is we add a trail node here. So you can see here, when we add a trail node and trail length set to 2, it will have a point for each point left behind. And when we increase the length here, it generates a trail like a motion blur. So maybe set that to 10. And now what we want to do is connect these points together. So how are we gonna connect them? We're gonna use the ID attribute here. So now you can see each point has an ID attribute which is very unique for each point. And then we copy it for each point. So the point left behind for each particles will have the same ID. We can visualize this by using a color node here. And we will give, now this point don't have color, we will give them a color. So we're gonna use random from attribute here. The attribute I'm gonna use here is called ID. And now I'm gonna create a sphere here and copy that to the point. So now let's scale down the sphere. Now you can see what I mean. So if we connect our point to here, trail node, color node here, you can see this one and this one has the same color because they have the same ID. I color the sphere using the ID attribute here. So when we increase the length to 10, now these have the same ID, these were connected together. So this is just for you to visualize. So now let's create an add node here. In add node, we can connect these point by some rules here. So we go to polygons and choose by group. Now the default one they're gonna use is to connect all the points together. We don't want that. We want to use the attribute, and the attribute we want to use is the ID attribute. So now you can see these points connect together by the ID, and we can delete this. This is just for visualization here. Yeah. And now you can play it. So one thing I noticed that is the line is not very smooth. It's a polygon line here. So you can see when we turn on the point display, the point is not enough for each line. So it's it's a bit low poly here. So what we can do is use a resample node to smooth this out. So connect resample here, and we can change the length to 0.01 here. So to add more points here. Now you can see it has more points. You can maybe even lower the increase the resolution to 0.005. Yeah, and now we can treat polygon as subdivision curves. Now you can see these curves are very smooth. You can see compare before and after. Yeah. So these lines are what we're gonna use to generate smoke. So yeah, let's do this. Let's generate our smoke. For our smoke simulation, we don't want to use this line as emitter and go inside the network and do simulations. Because it's a very simple one, we just want the smoke to follow the range and left a trail behind. So we don't want to do it with simulation. So let's do a fake one here. So let's create a volume, rasterize particles here. It has two inputs here. The first one requires base volume, and the second one is the particles to rasterize, which we can use our lines. And the second one, we're gonna use a volume node here because it takes the base volume here. And the volume we can generate is from our lines. I will change this, no, yeah. And we can have a name here called density. We need the density attribute to generate our trails. And this max access here is to, increase our, increase our precision here, yeah. And now we can change it by size here. It will change our resolution here. So I will change the division size to 0.02 maybe, 0.01 maybe. And now this is like a block here. We can lower the particle size. Once we lower the particle size to 0.02, you can see the trails. But you notice that, like, look at here, it's like being clipped. And look at here, it's been clipped. Looks like there is a bounding box around the shield here. And that's right, we're gonna create a bounding box. So add a bound here, connect here, and let's visualize this. So you can see this is our bounding box. The smoke is only gonna generate inside this bounding box. So we're gonna increase our bounding box so that the smoke will not be clipped at the edge here. So let's maybe increase the lower padding a little bit. Increase the, yeah. So you don't want to increase too much because it takes more time to calculate. Because there are more voxels in there. So yeah, maybe it's 0.1, 0.1, 0.1. Yeah, this is good. Now you can see, now let's hit play. You can see the trails. For one thing I noticed is that these are like straight lines. You don't have a lot of controls on it. So we want more controls for these fake smokes. So let's do that. So the first thing we want to do is go back to our lines here. You can see there are some attribute we can export. So I'm gonna turn on the curve view attribute. And now let's go to the node info here and click on curve view to visualize. You can see it has like a red, white, blue value here. What does this mean? You can go to the icon here at bottom. It's called visualization. Right click on it. You can see we are now visualizing the curve view data. So go to the pencil icon here, click that. Now you can see the color. The blue means 0, red means 1, and something in between means white. So how are we gonna use this data? You notice that one way in the volume rasterized particles, the particle scales control how big is our smoke. So if we change to 0.02, it's gonna be this width for the smoke. So we want to use this to control the curve view attribute to control the density, to control the p scales. So the red means 1, so which will have the large p scale here, and now the blue means we will have less p scale here. But you can see it's opposite. We have our particles go this direction, so it's the curve view attribute is reversed. We want the most the p scale is big at the head here, and now go to the trail, it will become less and less. Now we have like less p scale here and more p scale at the trails here, so we're gonna reverse our p scale attribute. So let's create a VOP node, attribute VOP, and connect here and here. So let's dive inside the attribute VOP, and we're gonna import our point attribute. The point attribute we're gonna import is float, and it's our first input because we connected here to the first input here. And the attribute we want to import is our curve view. Yeah, and we're gonna reverse it. We use the complement node here. Basically, it's just 1 minus a value. So maybe this one here is 0. So 1 minus 0 is 0. And this is 0.2. 1 minus 0.2 is 0.8. So 1, 0.8. Now go to the trail here. Maybe the value here is 1. So 1 minus 1 is 0. So it's like invert the value here. So let's use a complement node here, and now we can export our node. So the node we want, the attribute we want export is our curve view attribute here. And now you can see before it's blue here, which is 0, and red here, which is 1. Now when we do that, it's red here at the beginning and blue here at the end. So now let's go outside. You can turn on the copy to point ring display here. And now, yeah, you can see. This is what I mean. You have the more smoke here and less smoke here. So now we also want more control to this. So let's dive inside attribute VOP again. Use a node called ramp. The ramp will take a 0 to 1 value and remap it. So let's connect in between and change the RGB color ramp to spline color spline ramp. And you can see the color disappears. It's because it creates here, and it's all set to 0. So now it's remapped our attribute. So 1 is set to 1. You can also set lower the settings. So 1 may be remapped to 0.2. But now you can see we have more controls. Like if we lower the value here, you can see it's changing our value. So we only want this here, maybe here. So this is how you shape your smoke. Okay, so maybe something like this, or you can use some preset, maybe round here. So yeah, I'm gonna make this like this. So what we want to do here is let's create a wrangle node here. The smoke looks like a straight line, no variety here, is because our P scale. Our P scale is set to 0.02, which is all over these lines. These are constant values. That's why the lines look all the same from beginning to the end. And we create our attribute curve view, which have a different value like this. See, we can go to the geometry spreadsheet. Now look at curve view value here. It's all different. And let's find our P P skew. Where is our P skew? Yeah, but I can't find it. But our P skew value are constant, so we're gonna multiply 0.76 to our P skew, and multiply like 0.72 to our P skew. So each point is gonna multiply to the P skew. Okay. So the P skew value is different, and then we plug into here, so the smoke will be different. So let's go add P skew equals add curve U, multiply maybe 3 here. Now you can see the smoke is different. Okay, and we can change the 3 to a slider here. So let's call it CHF. It will create a channel, a float channel. So let's name it P skew. And click the button here. Change P skew to 1. Or maybe 2, 3. Yeah. And now we got these smoke trails, which is very easy to control. You can go to the attribute VOP here, you know. You can change the slider to control the look of the smoke. It's actually control the curve U value here, but we multiply the curve U to our P skew, so you know the slider controls the smoke. And yeah, I think, and because we don't do it with the simulation, we don't use stop networks, so you can go to the first frame, you can see the smoke it plays in real time, and it's real fast. Okay, and I think, yeah, let's change the value a little bit to, yeah, maybe something like this. Let's play it and go outside. Now it's with the range. Yeah. If you like this video, please hit the like and the subscribe button. That's it for today. In next chapter, I'm gonna talk about sparks. So we're gonna generate like explosion points on the shield randomly and generate our sparks. Okay, see you in next chapter.